Can you hear me,
Ellis,
Scott?
can you hear me? I've lost
Uh-oh.
you.
Oh boy, are we going to do this? Can you hear me? I guess you can't. Let's see. I can hear you.
No, I cannot hear you.
You can't hear me. Am I not broadcasting?
I can hear you through the broadcast. Hang on just a second. It may be my headphones. Let me take them off and put them back on.
Okay. Boot them.
Can you hear me, Ellis?
I can hear you.
Oh.
I can hear you. Hear you.
I don't know if you can hear me. For some reason, I can't hear anything. I'm gonna get a different set of headphones real quick.
Farmer Dan can hear both of us. Communicating via the chat. Oh my. Oh
Ellis?
well. Yeah. Scott, can you hear us? We're waiting for you. Me and Farmer Dan
I still
both.
can't hear you, Ellis.
Well,
okay, I'm gonna leave this and come back in. Okay.
I think we've all decided it's your fault. Okay. Hey, Farmer Dan. I'll try not to slurp. I have this weird thing, and it's got an actual name. I forget what it's called. Because it's got one of those phobia type of names. It's kind of something you just don't retain, especially at my age. But basically, it involves if you're real sensitive to the idea of people eating with their mouth open or something like that, or hearing somebody slurp, or in my case, I've got one that really, hey Scott, now can we
I'm
hear
back.
you?
I can hear you.
All right, well then
can you hear me?
fix. I can hear you, and Farmer Dan could hear both of us in beforehand, so that must mean it was you.
Yeah, I think I was using my my AirPods, and I think the battery may be dead on them.
That always seems to be your issue. You've got a dead battery in the wood pile somewhere.
Well, yeah. I had my battery in my phone replaced right before Christmas, or right after Christmas. So anyway, how are you doing?
Doing good. Farmer Dan wants to know how my day was. How was your day? Are you just getting back from New York? How many days you been here?
We flew back Sunday night. We landed at 9:00 in the evening, and so I've been back at work. I was at work the next day.
Wow.
So yeah. Well.
So mad dash.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, it's been crazy. Just catching up on laundry after being out of town for 5 days is kind of crazy.
Yeah. So you had great weather, right? Because I saw that
it rained. It rained Sunday.
Okay.
But other than that, it was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Went to Thursday. Let's see. So we flew into New York on Wednesday early, and then Thursday Michelle had meetings all day, and so I was free to roam around New York by myself.
Which is what you were there for.
Which is what I was there for. I went to some bookstores and some comic shops and some art supply places. And man, another art supply place is going out of business in New York.
Did you get some bargains?
No, they were picked over, unfortunately. But man, every time I go, it seems like more and more places are going out of business. They can't compete with Blick. Blick
and digital
Amazon.
and other things.
Well, yeah. It sucks because I used to go to New York and they had all these interesting art supplies, and now it's like, well, I can get it online, and it's easier almost. You know, I don't have to
Oh
carry it
yeah.
home, and
Oh yeah.
it's just kind of depressing.
I was thinking about ordering lag screws on Amazon the other day. I thought, no, I'll just go to Lowe's. It's like
Yeah,
you do get used to the idea of saying just put it in my mailbox.
yeah. Put it in the box. It's funny you say that. I ran out of Parmesan cheese, and I was actually looking if it because we don't go to the grocery store except on Saturdays. And I said, well, if I got it off of Amazon, I could have it,
Yeah, you could have
tomorrow.
it tomorrow.
The only thing that kept me from doing what was it was so much more expensive on Amazon, believe it
Yeah,
or not, or it seemed like it. So
could be.
I went at
Yeah,
lunchtime and got Parmesan cheese. But
that's interesting.
we went to the museum or Metropolitan Museum of Art while we were there. Saw a
Uh huh.
bunch of cool art. Had fun. Didn't spend as much money buying stuff as I might have in the past. Um, just because I couldn't find a lot of things, or I didn't find a bunch of things I wanted. We were just there in October, so uh, you know, yeah. I mean, it's when you go, twice that close together, there's not going to be a whole lot of new stuff. It's funny though. I was looking for one of the things I was looking for was a book or comic. Oh, there's a guy who supposedly his art looks. He's kind of renowned for being kind of a clone of John Byrne,
Uh huh.
and I'd seen his stuff. Is a guy named Vic Bridges, and in the '90s he did an image book called Freak Forces, written by Eric Larson.
Okay.
And
Excuse me.
I had Freak Force,
Uh huh.
but he did a book called Phase One Phasers or something like that. It's an indie book.
Was Freak Force Malibu?
No, no, no. His Image.
Okay.
It was after Savage Dragon,
Okay.
and so I'd kind of been I like the guy's work. Now he's got a little notoriety for being kind of a John Byrne clone, but what really the guy that I think he looks like is our friend Mike Kennedy.
Uh huh.
Anyway, so I kind of wanted. He did 4 issues of this series, this Phase One Phasers, whatever that is. He did 4 issues, and they did a sketchbook, and so basically 5 issues of the comic. And so I was in New York. I went to a bunch of comic shops looking for that stuff, and I couldn't find it. I got home and I ordered it off of eBay, and I literally paid $6 for all 5 books. And
Really?
I told Michelle, I couldn't. Well, I told Michelle, I couldn't have got it. If I'd walked in, they would have wanted at least $3 an issue for it, and I probably would have paid it.
What would happen to us all if we did have an EMP attack? And of course, it'd be for one thing, the Amazon is worth billions of money in cash flow.
Right.
For that to just go away,
Oh,
I don't know. I guess someone gets good out of it at one point. Having to supply stuff you were used to the communication going to Amazon. I don't know.
well,
Until they
I
repaired it.
I told Michelle today that if I had a time machine, I'd go back in time and.
Yeah,
Uh,
scrap all this.
Well, I would. There are a few things I would get rid of. Let's just say there are people I would kill, and,
Yeah.
and I mean that in a nice way. But
Go back and do away with Zuckerberg while he's at Harvard, huh?
well, that may have been with somebody I named. I'm not going to name. I'm not going to
Okay.
say who I named, but that
Oh
may
yeah,
be
yeah.
one.
Come,
Yeah, they'll come
get us blocked. Yeah.
exactly. But yeah, I mean, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I got a Facebook account and everything, but man, people are. You go to New York and like go on the subway, and all those people are just looking at their phone just constantly. That's all they do is look at their phone.
Well, that's
And
probably why people randomly get attacked. Is that people that can't afford a phone say, "I'm going to stab you because you ain't paying attention."
yeah, maybe
I
that
don't
could
know.
be. I don't know. I'm not a big. I mean, I have an iPhone and I have Facebook account, and I mean, I just told you I bought something off eBay, but I'm not obsessed with it.
So what's the verdict? Where's the S-hole status? Yeah, I don't know if you get what I'm saying when I say
The,
S-hole.
the
How's New York City's S-hole status?
oh my gosh,
Is it
I'm
good?
glad. Well, I'm glad we never moved there.
Okay.
That's
It's
a
not doing good, huh?
No, well, let's put it this way. Let's put it this way. I literally saw 3 different occasions where people were within seconds of fist fighting each other on the street.
Oh man, that's bad. That kind of goes to there is a pervasive kind of spirit in the air at all times around us. I mean,
Oh, I think New York's gotten worse since
yeah.
we've been going there. It's gotten worse. I think. I don't know what the deal is. A few years ago or 2 years ago, I had a confrontation with protesters.
Uh-huh.
Nothing like that happened. I wasn't involved in any of this stuff, but I mean, there were just several situations where you're like, "Holy cow!"
When you see somebody ready to trade blows and all that, you think to yourself, well, I better clear off from this or
Oh
do
yeah.
something or whatever.
Well, I mean, the thing is,
Farmer Dan wants to know what you're working on.
Oh, this is page. Sorry about that. I'm not watching this. This is page 20 of Heaven's Rejects. I don't know if you can see that.
Let me see what it looks like on the YouTube. Well, it's got too much delay. Can I tune my delay? I'd rather not have any delay at all, but
I don't think so.
Okay.
But anyway, this is
looking good. Look at that.
Yeah, in fact, I've been working on this right here, this panel, and I'm very happy with how those inks came out.
Mhm.
I just like the line quality. And so this is I bought some new tools while I was in New York. I did buy these. I bought Dick Blick, who's not a sponsor of our show, had these.
He's welcome to become one.
Yeah, Dick is. Had these on sale as markers, and I bought a 3-set, and it was $6. And I tested them out in the store. They're nice and black, and I'm very happy with them.
Are they? Do they work well with? Are they smudgy if you put white on them? Does the white turn blue and stuff like that?
No. They're water. They are. Oh, here's the.
Can't find.
I bought 2 boxes.
Let me see that again. What's it called? What brand?
Derwent.
Okay. Yeah. That sounds German, right?
They're permanent. So.
They're one.
But I bought. They had a 3-pack, and it was so I bought 2 of them because I figured 2 would get me through this comic at least. And I was reading a hack the other day about because my preferred tool really is rapidiographs, but sure. Mine are so old that I end up fighting with them a lot.
Yeah.
And you can't beat markers for just running and gunning.
Well, and the only thing is, if someone is like placing a value on your artwork and acting like they, want to buy it from you on an auction or whatever, supposedly the markers have some sort of acid in them that will degrade things, which I don't really. It doesn't bother me. For one thing, old artwork that turns yellow. It's I kind of dig it. It just basically means it got antiqued. Patina is now on top of it. Yeah.
I've got a Sharpie sketch that John Byrne sold me that was done in the 90s, early 90s.
What does it look like now?
Oh, it looks perfect.
Oh, really? Yeah. See, there's a lot of this that goes on.
But it is stored. It's in a good frame. It's
in a
light proof. Well, I don't know about vacuum, but it's in a good frame, and I've got it in my studio, but it's not where direct sunlight hits it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I mean, I've tried to be careful with it, but I'm kind of with you. It's for my enjoyment, and as far as value of my art, I'm not too worried about that.
You know who I found out is really weird about devaluing their art?
Who's that?
Is Tenaple. I was on the show with him. I guess it was probably last night, and he was talking about his originals from all of his graphic novels, other than what he has sent out, as bonuses here and there for, his latest, strategy is now naturally sent out quite a bit. Where if you want to pay him $100 for a book, you get a piece of original art. But he places very little value on it. He just wants to see it out there. He's not hoarding it for a big heritage auction sale, which he ought to do. He ought to say, well, if you don't have any use for it, hand it over to heritage auctions. See what somebody else will pay you for it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm more like him. I mean, I'm doing my roughs on the back, so I don't care.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you are kind of devaluing your stuff by doing that. Probably, I'm not sure. Maybe that makes it unique. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not super worried about it. I'm worried about getting the book out.
Yeah.
No,
and that's why people always used to chuck a lot of this stuff, is they thought of it as purely their commercial thing. Once a plate was made of it, mission accomplished. I wish I could reuse this Bristol board. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll flip it over. I don't know. Anyway, that sort of thing went on.
Sure.
I think about the guys that are so revered, and when you look at some of the Ditko back in the day, that guy was trying to get away with doing nothing pretty often on some of those strips. It was like, let me just get this over with, and he'll do like a quick figure and a couple of excitement lines, and just like anime or whatever, and these excitement lines. What do I really mean? Motion.
Yeah,
lines.
like this. Yeah, like this.
Exactly.
Just something to fill up some space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
you are doing
But yeah. Well, I mean,
But at the same time, he was getting it done with stuff that was on point, as being he always had good acting in his characters, and
oh yeah,
that was the main thing that he was good at, was that his figures were great.
Oh yeah, well, Ditko was great.
Yeah.
You
know who I'm reading right now that I'm really thankful I got a copy of it. Oh, well, I'm reading right now. Actually, I'm reading Hostage to Satan. Have you ever heard of that?
What is that?
It's this fascinating book. I only asked for it via the library because this director of Doctor Strange, he got kicked off of Doctor Strange, or whatever. Creative differences, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. And is it Scott Robertson? No, what's his name?
Scott Derrickson.
Derrickson.
And so that's good for, I think, everybody. I think it's good for him. He'll be doing horror films now. He still gets an executive producer slot, is what he said on the tweet. But anyway,
well, that's where the
tweets,
money's at.
Yeah, he is the he's gonna get some money, and his tweet mentions what the book that horrified him the most, and he said it was this book, Hostage to the Devil, and it's by this Malachi, I believe it's Malachi Martin.
Yeah,
is a priest involved in exorcisms.
Oh yeah.
And it's going to chronicle 5 different exorcisms.
Oh my gosh! Have you started reading this?
I have started reading it, and the guy is a good writer, so that's the only reason I need to continue to pursue it. But he's got, it's kind of interesting. For instance, if I hadn't started reading it, I wouldn't know that Ouija means we and jaw, as in, or ha, or I'm not, how do you pronounce that in German? J-A.
Yeah.
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 In other words, the words are yes, yes.
Oh, really?
And so, think about what kind of invitation that is. Yes, yes.
Yes.
Anyway.
I used to know a guy that did that kind of thing.
Oh, really? Spiritualism?
Yeah. Well, no exorcisms.
Oh, exorcisms. Really?
Really? Yeah. 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 I mean, I don't know what your, how you feel about that or whatever, but
Well,
the stories will curl your hair, man.
I think that world exists. I mean, why
Well,
why would I not? It's weird
I don't.
because if you believe in the spiritual anything,
Right.
I mean, you can't be a celebrity goofus and believe in ghosts and not, and not have some other beliefs. Then, I mean, if you're going to believe in
Right.
ghosts,
Right.
you
Well,
might as well welcome in the rest of the notion of that there is spirit in the world.
it's there's a chart, and I don't know who came up with it. I don't know the name of it, but it's basically a chart of supernatural beliefs, and
Uh-huh.
it's kind of like a almost I think you would call it like an evangelical tool where you can chart where someone's like their belief, and like literally the first thing is that like number one is like, do you believe in anything supernatural? And then it goes up to there about, do you believe in God? Do you believe in then it goes through the whole, and of course it's based off like a biblical scale. So,
I'm
you
reading
know,
the comments. Matt
oh,
C. He's got this great book out called Kyrie, and
yeah,
I bought it as a PDF. I didn't get any. I always try to get away with just getting the PDF if I can. But hey man, oh, he's talking to Farmer Dan. He's trying to get his attention. Um, but Matt is also engaged with Narwhal. I showed you again. I got
oh
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Earthbound PDF, and
Yes.
those two are collaborating. And it's
Oh,
interesting
really?
to get in on their streams while they banter back and forth with story. And you know how you talk about this kind of thing being comics is a solo effort, and it gets lonely and
Yes.
all that. And so that idea of ping ponging ideas across, staying
Yeah.
warmed up. Yep.
I
Yeah. I
think
do enjoy that
if I
chat,
were
Matt. It's fun.
I think if I were a full-time comic creator and I had to work at home by myself, I think I'd go crazy.
Well, yeah, and that's what
Um,
happens to people. I saw it firsthand in that little studio I was in with Miller and Ben Herrera. I always mention Ben Herrera right away because he was the worst offender. He was one of the most successful guys that had the commissions from Malibu, and yet he was the guy that was on the phone the most, and he was always
oh
talking.
yeah.
He was an example of networking for success. That guy found kindred spirits in the comic book world that were wanting to be talking on the phone. If it was, I can't
Oh
believe
yeah.
I haven't heard about Herrera doing this sort of thing. I may just not be looking for him. I bet I probably could find an instance of it. He just was really bad about being on the phone. Miller, I don't remember him being on the phone as much, but there were a couple other guys. Scott Benefield, he was always on the phone. I think Mike Christian was always on the phone.
Well, now they'd be on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
The so like today, this I mentioned or we talked about I was
Yeah.
in New York last week. Came back to work on Monday. Today, I got to do a presentation one of my employees has been there for 5 years, and so and hey, remind me, by the way, when we get done. I can't talk about this on the air, but stay on a little bit. Remind me to tell you about work stuff. I got some work stuff to tell you.
Okay.
Anyway, cool. So one of my employees has been with the company for 5 years, and in my work that you get recognized for your years of service, and so I had to do a presentation for this guy, and it's probably about in front of maybe 100 people. It was kind of interesting. I've done a couple of those, and I'm getting better at it.
Well, yeah, I mean that's a good talent. I'm watching right behind me. I've got the trial on, and
oh no,
all these guys, there's probably not a one of them that's got any talent whatsoever other than public speaking. Well, that's not true. I mean, if you got your law degree, obviously you got a pretty big brain.
You got something there.
But their main talent is whether or not they can get up to that lectern and tell everybody what is, And
yep, some of them are pretty good at it too.
Well, you'll just have to run. You'll have to run for something now that you've developed this talent.
No, I have a moral compass. I can't run for anything.
Yeah, there you go. that shows up very clearly. All these guys, are just totally by party line. If this was a true assessment of how this is going, you'd have all kinds of lap over and stuff like that. Oh, that guy thinks it's wrong, and he's a Republican. That guy thinks it's right, and he's a Democrat. Whatever,
Well, yeah,
but it doesn't occur that way. It occurs along party lines.
Oh yeah, our country is so ridiculous right now.
Oh yeah.
I see the comments are going crazy.
Well, Matt and Farmer Dan are talking to each other. That's all right.
Oh yeah, hey,
which is cool. It's kind of just cool to have two people in the chat.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, no doubt. I'm trying to see how many. Oh, there's 4 people in the chat.
Matt,
I may be
listening to Scott Adams. Thanks to me. The main thing you need to take from Scott Adams that I took to heart is give up sugar. The rest of it, take it with a grain of salt. Scott Adams can really get on my nerves sometimes. It's like, but that's cognitive dissonance at work. It's like, you can't really believe that. I want to get out the lie detector and make sure you believe that. Basically, I don't believe you. That's cognitive dissonance. Where you think you don't believe that. They may.
Oh, we live in a world of cognitive dissonance, man.
Yeah.
Yep. So what'd you do today?
I went for my walk early so that I would be just totally ready when it started at 12 o'clock. And, so I could watch all this. And I've been doing some stuff, getting ready tonight. Strawn and quartered is going to be Venom. And so I've been trying to draw a couple of sketches here and there. You aren't trying to monitor yourself. You'd break things if you could see me, couldn't you? Wouldn't you? Right?
Do what? What?
You would break your setup if you could actually see what's going on, right? At the moment, like if you were able to see YouTube or for that matter.
Well,
what all can you see?
I'm watching it on this.
Oh, you can watch it on that? Okay.
Yeah, but there's a lag.
Yeah. A big lag. But anyway, I've got my little thumbnails up here of the Venom.
Oh yeah.
I've been doing. So let me see what there we go.
I feel like Venom is a character that you're kind of made for because the way you do figures and stuff.
Well, he's just basically the Hulk with a little bit of he's got a big tongue.
But you got to push the poses.
Yeah, he's a monster.
Yeah. Yeah, just do a couple bends in it.
So that's what I'm doing.
You know.
Since there's a value in following on to this to their Friday night auctions, it's always like I've always felt the pressure of like, well, do it right, do it with good materials and all that. I'm not going to. In fact, I think I'll make tonight's where I just depart from everything and just start with a ballpoint. Just start putting lines down. Says Ellis Goodson,
Oh
are you
yeah.
coming around to drawing one of your stories, or has Doug scared you off that? No, Matt, I work at my own pace, and I just have now almost finished a 10-page story off. Once I have 20 pages done, I may start thinking about promoting the thing. But because it may take another month to 2 months to even get to that point, I'm not going to start titillating. I'm going to have it all almost in the bag. Oh, has Doug scared me off? That now that may be referring to stuff that I'm not paying attention to much of the Comicsgate stuff. And if Doug has been doing a whole lot of editorial about how dumb it is to be in these comics, I don't know too much about that. You know, full disclaimer, I don't listen to hardly any of Doug's content. I don't listen to any of the Ethan Van Sciver stuff. Says Ellis, am I remembering correctly that you did the cover I did do a cover for Gear, one of them. That though any sort of like I did it in oil, and I forget what happened to that thing. And
You,
Gear,
you did a cover for Gear?
Gear, yeah, was one of Doug's series of comic books. I forget if he sold it to Image or something like that.
Oh,
But
really?
yeah, but the deal is it's just basically taking Doug's sketch and just doing it in oil. So
Oh, yeah.
which is how Doug,
Yeah, but
Doug farms all this stuff kind of out. You become an extension of Doug if you're going to work for Doug. He's going to be doing you enough. That's what he's made a living at is show running and art directing and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. But you don't know where the original went.
Yeah, it's weird not to know too. Who would have got it? Who could lay claim to it? I don't know. I know I did. I know I didn't sell it on eBay, so I would probably remember it if I sold it on eBay.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, the things I remember anymore. I'm not too sure I would remember it. I have a feeling I'm in a kind of a loop where I say, and you'll enjoy this, like I'm presenting it to somebody for the first time. Then I'm likely to get chided for saying, hey, you did that last month too.
You told me that already.
Yeah.
That article that Barry linked to about the Star Wars poster was pretty interesting.
That is interesting. Yeah, a friend of ours, Barry, big film buff like myself and Scott, we got an email from him about a special about the Hildebrandt brothers back when they were just barely the Hildebrandt brothers. Right, this was going to make them basically. I imagine that's what the doc is about. It's about how much better their life got, or at least hectic anyway, after they did the Star Wars, the first Star Wars poster. And we were discussing. You probably got the most to weigh in. You made the most cogent point about posters today, movie posters. So
okay. So the article was about the Hildebrandt Star Wars poster, and Greg, I guess it's Greg, he's the one that's still alive. Greg was commenting on how in the article about how bad the state of modern movie posters is, and really all they are anymore is photoshopped together headshots. And the comment I made among our email, not in the article, or not to the article, was anymore. There's no composition. It's all basically like by billing by screen billing is dictates the composition, which is sad because I grew up in the area of Drew Strasman and all his great posters back in the '80s, and we're much poorer as a society for not having that.
It was interesting, yeah. The what little I saw of the teas on the thing, he mentions the fact that the usual procedure of having headshots of the stars, and it came back from the Lucas that, or not necessarily just Lucas, but the info was, well, these nobody knows these people. And so that's
Right.
Harrison Ford, all these people you think of as big stars now. He was just informing everybody that, hey, nobody knows these guys, and so it was like, so don't worry about likenesses, and that's why that poster looks like that. It's very got nothing to do with Carrie Fisher or Mark Hamill. Kind of in a broad way, you could say it almost looks like Mark Hamill, but not really.
No, it's very. And I mean, they can do likenesses. The Hildebrand brothers can, But
no. I took a class with Watts one time where it was more like a seminar, and he showed that he had done a couple of posters back in the day where they still had illustrated posters. I think he did one for Coppola's Dracula. And he showed us the process, and it was just almost all purely autographs and stuff like that. You take your references, and of course you can imagine how much easier that is nowadays with digital.
Oh yeah,
we use the autograph, transferred everything, and and the studio would demand that from you. They would give you this and that, and tell you what needs to be big and important.
Well, a good illustrated movie poster has a nice composition to it. It's its own art, just laying it out. I mean, it's not all just like an illustration, or it's not, there's a nice composition to it.
Oh, all my favorites.
Some of those old James Bond posters.
Yeah, there's a guy I always forget his name, and I always think it's Reynold Brown, but there was two big guys. There was Reynold Brown, who I'm always able to remember his name. Then there's the guy that did a lot of the Corman posters, Not of This Earth, and The Amazing She Creature. Let me see if I can find that.
There's an Italian guy that did a bunch of Italian posters. It was awesome. I forget his name.
Yeah,
but
that guy.
But
awesome.
He did all those Italian. I forget his name. There's a book about him out, but you can't get it here. You have to import it from Amazon Italy or something like that, and it's real expensive. But it's a real almost like a men's magazine cover illustration style, just real beefy and muscular.
Yeah. Astounding She Creature. Get that? You get the Astounding She Creature poster. Artist. I just keep adding stuff I want to know. Images. Oh yeah. Of course, I could turn my camera around, but I've got no idea what it might catch. That might be data I don't want doxed. I could print it. This would be good.
Hey, we saw your water bill.
yeah, exactly. Now I know where you live. Of course, that's.
We know where you live, Ellis.
All that stuff is easy to find out.
Oh yeah, there was a big hubbub a while back. I think it was when I was in New York. I read about this because somebody is making some sort of an app that you can take a picture of somebody and it will give you like their address.
Yeah.
And there's this big hubbub about it. But it's
Well,
like you can kind of already do that,
yeah.
you know. And I mean, people are like, "Oh, this is horribly dangerous," which I agree with. But you can do that now. I mean, you know, you can put a picture into Facebook, and it will tell you the person's name. You know.
What do you think about my grungy printout of this? Since it's got nudity in it, I may get this. Well, I already say that my YouTube is not for children. But anyway, this
Oh,
is
there you
one of
go.
my favorite posters, and it's so simple. It's just a really good figure study, but that's why we love Frazetta as well. And this is the artist is Albert Callis, and this is showing his reference material for it. And here's the poster as it looks, and you know it's verbatim, you know, in terms of the pose
Yeah.
of the model, and it's you know, I just dig it. And of course, it's got another guy that probably posed. He probably posed for himself of a guy with a shotgun in his hand, uh, totally in flames. The way the astounding she creature or whatever her name is. The only
That's cool.
the way she killed people. She just had to touch them. And then they had a little sound effect. That's the world's best low budget film special effect is sound effects. You grab your skull and you have this great sound effect, and you know that somebody's skull is about to explode because they're obviously in agony. You know, some
Yeah.
mutant is trying to make your head blow up. Wow, just hearing
Farmer
about
Dan does not
Hildebrand
like the
brothers.
brothers Hildebrand.
Drew Struzan illustrated my childhood. Yeah, Matt, you're
Yep,
right.
I would
Farmer
agree with
Dan
that.
says Drew Struzan and Glenn Keane defined many people's childhoods. True.
Yep.
Ellis is going to get in trouble for them dim boobies. I don't know. Boobies are.
With who?
I don't know. Yeah, who's coming after me?
With who? You know,
Plus, they weren't. I don't know.
yeah,
So they
whatever.
sure are nicely lit. That shows you. That shows you that you know almost never use photo reference. That's why that sticky bones is kind of like something I do call on every now and then when I get stuck up. But I've been lately having a real breakthrough on hands, and it's only
Yeah.
because I just started saying, get back to realizing that, you know, pencil it in as many times and as many layers as you have to, and then get in with
Yeah.
the inks and finish it. Because where you get lazy is you go 2D too early. And what you need to
Yeah.
do is do all the draw through. See, I've drawn these little successions of sausages over each other, and it's messy,
Yeah.
and it took longer than it would take if I just arrived at something that I probably could do 60% of the time without doing that. But by the time I just inked this that I've done with these sausages, the fact that I've thought of these volumes, that hand would look just 100% better than my ordinary, off the top of my head, 90% done when I lay ink to paper hand. You know, it just would look better.
Yeah.
So anyway, just by doing that, it's like my hands were getting kind of gnarly, and Doug actually called me on it and said, "Man, those are bad hands." And and so I have been doing. And you can copy hands, but that's not what it needs to go to. You need to go to your own mechanisms for getting into that volume area of your brain. And that's a big help too. Just make sure you're doing your draw through. Just get messy, and you're going to find your way in. Nobody else may be able to sort it out, but you can find your way around in it. So that's my lecture for
Yes.
today.
I agree.
Yeah,
Speaking of hands, I'm fixing a hand right here.
yeah, yeah. Those hands,
So
they're a big deal. What?
So in this panel,
Go ahead and ink this in.
let's see if you in this panel.
Oh yeah, look at that.
She's stuffing dynamite in the demon's mouth.
Uh-huh.
And I have not been crazy about this, so I'm gonna fix some stuff here before I go to inks. But
yeah, get it fixed now.
yeah, it's it just needs a little, like you say, a little draw through. Her hand looked a little meaty. I mean, it's just such an odd pose.
No, exactly. Drawing is measuring. Yeah.
So I figure it doesn't need, because it's an unusual action. It's this unnatural action. If I don't make it look good or as good as I can, then it won't read.
Yeah.
Oops. So
Hey,
Ellis,
yeah, it's time to go, isn't it?
I need to step away for. Well, is it? I don't know what time it is.
It's 8:20, and that means I've got to be ready to go when these guys want to do the thing.
Oh.
So I guess I ought to give myself about a half hour's worth of thing.
Oh, okay.
I want to hear more about New York City here soon, and you wanted to talk to me after I leave the studio, right?
Yeah, hang on for when you end the broadcast.
And we're all going to talk for a couple seconds.
Hang on.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
hey guys, thanks Farmer Dan and Matt, and I'll see you all soon some other point.
Yeah, thanks for watching us.
Okay.